Hey everyone, I'm excited to start a new series on the channel about practical discipleship. And this is really the heart and soul of the Christian faith. So this video is going to be answering the most basic question: what is discipleship anyways? So discipleship in its most simple form is just simply us becoming students of Jesus. Being a disciple of Jesus is not just about taking in information or learning things for a test. It's about this master and apprentice. It's us following Jesus so that we can not just learn information, but we can become like him. We watch Jesus, we walk with Jesus, we learn from Jesus, and most importantly, we learn to imitate Jesus. We learn to become like him, to value the things that Jesus values. At its most simple, this is what discipleship is. It's becoming like Jesus. And in the Bible, this is really critical because in Scripture, there's no such thing as a believer in Jesus without also being a disciple of Jesus. Both of these things always come together, that the people who put their faith in Jesus are also the ones who follow him, who are becoming like him, who have their allegiance to Jesus. So I think it's really helpful to go back to the beginning when Jesus calls his first disciples. And so we find this story in Mark 1 of Jesus calling Peter and his brother Andrew, who are fishermen, and they're out fishing, and Jesus comes and calls them to follow him. And he says, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." And I think there's at least a couple of things that we can draw out of this. And so the first is that when we begin to follow Jesus, when we become his disciple, he transforms us into something we are not, right? He takes their vocation of fishing and says, no longer will you be fishing for fish, you will be fishing for people. You'll be fishing in this spiritual sense. And I love that because it's this image of Jesus taking the raw materials, the attributes, the skills that they have, and transforming it into something that they never could have become within themselves. They didn't have the ability, the power within themselves to become fishers of people. But by becoming Jesus' disciple, they could become those things. They could become more than what they were then. And so discipleship is this transformative process where we are becoming more like God, and so becoming more fully human, because Jesus brings both of those things together, being God and being the perfect image of God. So we are being transformed into that same perfect image of Jesus. The second thing is that discipleship takes intentionality. You know, we see this with Peter and Andrew when it says that they immediately left their nets, their fishing nets, and they went to follow Jesus. There was an intentionality there and a reprioritizing of their life. And I think that exact same thing has to happen in each of our lives if we are going to become true disciples of Jesus, is we have to reprioritize. We have to set intentional time out to become a disciple of Jesus. We have to reprioritize things like what the plans were for our lives. You know, you think Peter and Andrew and their families must have had ideas of what they thought their life was going to be like and what it was going to be about. And the same is true for our lives, that gets reprioritized, that gets transformed in the process of following Jesus. And oftentimes, it's not completely different, but those things take on a completely new meaning, a completely new purpose in our lives through that discipling, through that learning to imitate Jesus. The third thing about discipleship is that it happens in community, right? So even from the beginning, Jesus calls not just Peter or not just Andrew, but both of them together. And he doesn't just stop with them, but he calls other disciples. And we see those early disciples, the 12 and the 70 and beyond, they're all together discipling within a community. In the same way that you can't be a believer without also being a disciple, you also can't be a disciple on your own. We need community because we all have blind spots. We all need other people to help us fully understand God, to hold us accountable at times, and so that we can practice becoming like Jesus. In a later video, we're going to talk about the goal of discipleship, which is to become more loving like Jesus. Well, love takes an other, right? We're not just loving in our attitude by ourselves. We're loving by our concrete actions with others. We need others so that we can actually practice our faith within community. And as disciples, we don't just need community in our interpersonal relationships, we also need it on a much larger level, where as Christians, we learn from other Christian experience, whether it's different Christians in historical times or different Christians from different regions of the world. We need our brothers and sisters from Africa, Asia, South America, from Europe. We need people with all kinds of different experiences so we can understand and come to know Jesus as he is through all of those vast experiences of how he works in the world and who he is. That's what gives us a more clear picture that we can see and learn from and imitate. Okay, so that's what was discipleship in a nutshell. If you liked that, if you found it helpful, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and you'll get more videos on practical discipleship. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.